Welcome to FS Brew. FS Brew is the region's first podcast focusing on all things insurance and insurtech in the UAE and the broader Middle East. I'm Vidya. I'm the founder of Forward, a startup that works with insurance companies to build their go-to-market digital propositions.
Hi, I'm Renjit Philip. I consult with companies and startups in the 0 to 1 stage, going up to the Series A, help them with strategy, business model development, and go to market. In today's episode, we had a chat with Mohamed Seghir, CEO of HAYAH Insurance, a newly rebranded insurance company here. Very interesting things. Obviously, Vidya, we started off with the conversation into rebranding and the lessons learned and the issues that came up.
Yeah. Fascinating. I love the fact that, he said it has to be an inclusive brand and therefore he's taken blue and a pink, typically stereotyped for a man and a woman sort of thing. But the point was we want to be inclusive. We don't want to be, what typically insurance is a very male targeted sort of
Yeah.
brand. And they also want to create a tribe, and that's also part of their branding culture and logo.
Yeah.
So that's great. So it's a long-term vision to be able to be creating this HAYAH tribe, which is
Yeah.
fascinating.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
yeah,
good point. He did mention this long-term aspect of it. The brand is not just for the here and now. It's
yes,
got to stand the test of time. So,
yeah,
so he's done that. That's great. The other aspect is the org culture, right?
yeah,
How he has kind of brought the old and the new together by having
yeah,
a diverse mix of talent from different spaces.
yeah.
And he said it's not just going to be a few cool kids running the show. It's going to be everybody is going to be cool in this
Yeah.
transformation, right?
Yeah, no, that was a great line. And, I think that's what, he's getting it right potentially, and the way he runs the organization, and then it comes out as well. And maybe something that, the leaders can learn from, because typically what happens, and, Ranjan, there'll be these consultants who will say, hey, I know it all and I'm going to run the show. You now need to follow exactly what I do. And then you'll always have that resistance and things
Yeah.
don't really go the way it should be going, isn't it?
Yeah.
So then suddenly, if you flatten, as he said, he makes it horizontal versus hierarchical, and then there's a drip feed of cultural change versus a sudden ambush. You can see that they accept it and they're more receptive to it. They see the benefits of it, and you're running the outfit the way it should be, and it's not flamboyant and extra for the sake of it,
Yeah.
which is great. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
The third thing, I think he talked about AI and how he's using it for personalizing the product offering to the customer. Not really first looking at cost as many people do with RPA and stuff like that. That is quite interesting.
yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that we could also learn from is the way they look at consumer insights. And I think this is a sort of a common trend we've seen, Ranjit, when we interview leaders. The guys who get it right are constantly listening into their customers. So he's seen that there is that need for easy to acquire life insurance product that is affordable, that is digitally given to them, and that's exactly what they have done, simply by understanding who their customer base is. So again, that was something that many of the leaders can learn from.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
all in all, I think we know you will enjoy this episode. So listen in.
Yep. In this episode, we're speaking with Mohamed Seghir, the CEO of HAYAH Insurance, UAE's newly branded insurance company that specializes in life, medical, and savings. Mohamed, it's great to have you with us on FS Brew. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the
Thank
show,
you.
man.
Thank you all. And I'm very happy to be here. Thank you for the invitation and thank you for the good chats that you have normally on the topics around insurance.
Perfect.
Awesome. Awesome. This is the question we ask all our guests to sort of kickstart in, how did you get into insurance? Because typically that's not a career of choice for most.
Yeah, this is very true. So most of kids don't dream of a career in insurance. So basically what happened to me is that when I was studying back in France, I was
Yeah.
very good in mathematics. So I had very good marks in mathematics and so on. And I wanted to do something around like engineering, but not pure engineering. And one of my teachers told me actually about the actuarial profession. So to become an actuary, which was something I had never heard about before. So I was 18 or 19 when I heard it. And then I wanted to inform myself a bit more on what is this profession, what is this kind of things. And I was, as I said, a kind of geek in terms of mathematics. So for me, it was the ideal path because it had a bit of like business, finance, and mathematics. So then when you fall into the actual profession, 99% of chance you'll become only in the insurance industry. And that's how it started.
Nice.
Excellent.
Wonderful.
Excellent. So from actuary to leadership, that's a brilliant journey. And very similarly, your company has also gone through a fairly big change in terms of rebrand from AXAGreen Crescent to HAYAH. So what were the drivers for the rebrand, and what was the process that the company used to go through this rebrand?
So the first driver is very simple, is that this company was a joint venture with AXA, the multinational French insurance company, and they have decided to pull out as a whole from the Middle East. So it has actually forced us to look at a new identity, a new strategy, a new positioning for the company. So HAYAH means life in Arabic. And we wanted something which was very connected to the people, but a bit more vibrant as what we normally see in the insurance industry. So that's why the colors as well, the blue and the pink. And also because we want to be an inclusive insurance company. And the blue and the pink, very culturally speaking, represent the men and the women who make up our society as well. You will see that our logo has some kind of tribal writing, because we wanted to give as well the impression for people to belong to a tribe. So it's not only you are an insured, but you actually belong to a tribe, the HAYAH tribe, and you are being protected within the logo, the square that you have. So that was the basically the reasoning behind it. Want to have something modern, inclusive, which really is in sync with the period of time that we see in terms of changes, digitalization, and so on. So then the process was very regulatory based, I would say, discussing with different regulators. At that time, Insurance Authority, but the central bank as well, DED, Ministry of Commerce, and all these kind of things. So it was then a more, I would say, administration-based kind of process. But we had as well to do the announcements and the kind of marketing, but not the proper marketing as we will understand, which is to promote our product and so on, but just to familiarize people with our brand, with the new brand on the markets, so that people got to know who we are.
Absolutely. Actually, just diving really deep into that, piece, Mohamed, just on the customer strategy. Tell us, who is that ideal HAYAH customer for you, and what are the different steps that you took in terms of building and raising that awareness about HAYAH, because it's obviously a new brand, but at the same time, we know that it's a transition from AXAGreen Crescent. So a lot of the customers, we assume, would have continued on that journey with you as HAYAH as a brand. So talk to us a little more about that. And another sort of extension is that, it is a D2C brand. HAYAH is on the D2C side of things, but we also assume you must have partnerships, potentially on the group medical side as part of your distribution strategy. So maybe around the brand, a customer strategy, and then a little bit on the distribution side.
Very good. It's a very good question, actually. In terms of I would say the typical client of HAYAH, as I said before, the idea was to be inclusive. So we want to have a brand which speaks to the must. And when you realize actually what happened in the life insurance markets, is that very often the products and then the distribution as well was really catered to the high net worth individuals or the VIPs. And we wanted something which targets more the mass and mass affluent people as well. So that's also why we have automation solution and these kind of things, to make sure that our operational costs are being down, to make sure that we can as well absorb people who don't have the same entry tickets as the others. So to make it simple, we don't have like a typical client. Perhaps the typical client actually of HAYAH will be somebody who appreciates the offering, which is very simple and easy to understand, and also the digital aspect of things, so that we're accessible 24/7, that you can buy all our policies online directly through our website or through our partners. So we are D2C, but I do believe a lot personally in the B2B2C. So we are doing many partnerships on the market with, I would say, well-known insurance brands and other brands as well. I really think that as insurance companies, more and more our position will go a bit down in the food chain, meaning that we will do what we know how to do, is to protect and to service the customers. What we are not always the best is the pure distribution. And the distribution has always been I think the most complicated part in the insurance business in the Middle East, and not only, actually in many territories. So what we wanted to do is really to focus on the typical insurance part of the business, where we know what we do and how we do it. In terms of distribution to corporates, so actually our portfolio does contain a lot of corporate clients. So we had a lot of awareness, information around the new brand, the new thing, and so on. And actually the persistency of corporate clients from AXA to HAYAH is around 100%. 100%. So meaning that people did believe in our project, they did follow us, and they came to us actually, and they came even to us to enhance their current proposition and products at the moment.
Wonderful.
Right. I think a follow-up on that is, do you think the brand has helped in this acquisition, or is it just the service and the AXA heritage that helped you retain those customers?
Definitely, I think the brand has helped a lot, because it was a refresh as well for a market which has been static in many years. Actually, I'm quite happy that we saw last year 3 rebranding on the markets. For markets who barely didn't know any new name for many years. So it was, I think, needed as well to have new names on the market and new positioning, because it means that insurance companies, we are looking again at the market, which has changed a lot in the last years in terms of demographics, of dynamics, and so on. So that helped a lot. The brand has helped a lot, but not only the brand, also the kind of products that we sell, because we did develop products which did not exist before on the market, and also the technology that we built around the customer journey to have 100% digital customer journey, that we are the only one to provide on this line of business in the UAE.
So do you think that whole digitalization is attracting a different type of customer, or you think the customer base is pretty much the same as before?
Definitely, we see a new trend, let's say, in the customers, because the customers that we get are younger, but they're also actually more educated. They are more into, I would say, office-based jobs and so on, more than the very typical kind of client who were perhaps more not necessarily working expats, but expats who are wealthy, who have actually businesses and so on. Now we talk to a different kind of population, and people who are very aware and who do look at the value of life insurance as well. They do look at it more closely, but the digital front allows us actually to give more information and more structured information as well to the prospects, to people who are inquiring about life insurance and so on. So yes, we see this change. Then what is quite difficult for us to assess is, what is this change due to just the changes in customers' behaviors, because that has changed as well in the last 3 years since COVID. Actually, we see many people and many industries have been disrupted, not by themselves, not by what they provide, but directly by the customers. So it's a bit hard as well for us to assess what is the portion of what we offer, what we provide, and how the customers behave.
Got it. No, that's very interesting. And I promise this is probably the last question on the branding piece, but it's so fascinating to, you've gone through a successful branding. So if you could kind of distill it into a few lessons that other leaders can learn from, what would you say as a 2-3 things that the leader should follow?
So the first one, you will never have everybody agree on something.
Right.
Because as you can imagine, it's a very collegial exercise. So you have board members, shareholders being involved, your employees, the executive team, the leadership team, and so on. You will always have 1, 2, 3 people who won't like what you do. But in any configuration, you never have 100% people adoption, never.
Right.
So do believe in what you want to do. And then the other thing as well is to connect the brand to your long-term objectives. It may sound very simple to say, but actually when you do it, you realize that sometimes just because you deviate a little bit the name or the logo, it does not reflect where you project yourself in 5, 10 years down the line. And HAYAH, we want to be digital, inclusive, sustainable. We want to expand as well to other countries and so on. So we needed to have this brand which can represent all these kind of things at the same time. And actually, I can tell you that for me, it's lesson number 2 is really to connect the brand to the long-term objectives.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And just focusing back onto the whole digital piece, you've mentioned that a number of times actually already, and we know from what we can see as well, it's very focused on the whole idea of digital transformation. One of the things that we picked up was you also tied up with a company called Lumera to provide AI-powered life insurance solution. Now, tell us what that means. Can you tell us what is the approach of digital transformation when it comes to your organization, and tell us some use cases on how you use AI into your product proposition?
Yeah, actually, there are 2 aspects to that. There is the internal one and the external one. For me, as a client, what we are trying to create as an experience is what I call the instantaneous insurance. Meaning that at any point of time, is it to buy your policy, for the underwriting, for the claims, for any question that you have, a client should be served at the same time. So there should not be any delay and so on. And you know that one of the big issues today of the insurance industry, it's a very admin-based industry. And that when you apply for life insurance, it can take easily 2-3 weeks to get something done. When you actually want to claim your money, it's not unusual on this market to see it after 1 month. This is something we totally wanted to change. For us, it's absolutely unacceptable from the customer's point of view to have to wait for so long for something which is straightforward most of the time. So basically, we automated a lot of things which are going into this direction so that 90-ish% of cases can be straight through in the process without having to go to any kind of human interaction and so on. So this is the whole idea for the external part. For the internal part as well, we had to review actually the very traditional way of doing things. As you can imagine, we inherited from a group like AXA. So we had to review from A to Z all the processes, all the interactions, all the forms and so on that we had to make sure that the information flow and these kind of things can be much quicker than what we had. In terms typically of use cases that we will see is that we are developing, and that will be very, very soon, it should be during this month, OCR capability, meaning that first time that you apply for a policy, you have to scan basically your Emirates ID, and it will pull out all your information. So what is your name, date of birth, nationality, gender, all this kind of information. And what it will allow us is by the data integration, and the artificial intelligence is just like the human intelligence. The more information you feed the intelligence, the more it will be accurate in the future. But by doing this, we'll have some segmentation in the population, saying that we typically expect a person who is a man, 40, from this country, to purchase this kind of policy. So instantly, we will propose you this policy. You'll always have the option basically to have your own tailor-made kind of policy. But typically, we will give you like one option, which will be only one click for you to go to the next stage, which is either the automated underwriting or directly the payments. So that's exactly how the artificial intelligence is going to be rolled out in terms of interactions for the customer. That only by scanning the Emirates ID, you will have the whole product selection, advisory, and so on, which will be skipped to the essential parts. Of course, it will be for 80–90% of the population, it will be directly what they want.
Yeah.
For some, they still have the option to go for more manual kind of things to design their own policy. But the idea is that really for the 80–90% of the population who have very basic actually needs, they will be able to go very easily in the journey.
Okay.
Right.
Which is great
So
because
it's personalization and speed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because if you see like banks, they typically tend to cross-sell these PA and life-based PA, and they'll cross-sell about 10 of them, and they don't understand the personas, they've not really understood that sort of stickiness. And
so it's a good point, because it's one of the issues that we see is that when people want life insurance, they don't know what they want. People just don't know. You don't know your protection gap. You don't know your savings gap, how much you are short for your retirement and so on. People don't know. And actually, most of the time, and that's why as well we wanted to move it to something a bit more AI-based, is that most of the time, an advisor will have actually an interest in making you believe that this is your need. But perhaps your need is different. So we wanted to have a rule-based kind of approach, AI-based, which can tell you exactly, objectively, what will be the best for you.
Yeah.
So we don't have to take it. We're not pushing for it, but we are proposing you like an enhanced or easy journey for that, with the guarantee that the whole thing is objective. We're not trying to maximize the premium that you pay or these kind of things. We just want the fairness being sent back to the customer.
Right. As one of the CEOs I used to report to told me that don't give too many choices to the customers. Just give simple 2-3 choices, let them select it, because they just get overwhelmed with the cognitive load, right? So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Also very interesting, Mohamed, that you went with personalization and front end. Many people use AI, robotic process automation for the back end cost savings piece, which I'm sure you're doing so. But I think I like the first piece is customer facing, isn't it? So very interesting.
Absolutely. So the whole thing is end to end, basically. But where it speaks more to the people is really when it actually helps them to have a better journey.
Yeah. Even on the back end, it has such magic as well, because you will have, especially with life, you have so many certificates, death certificate and so many other things to produce, and each country has its own ways of producing. The technology that you need to read in is just too many. So even from that perspective, I think customers will benefit a lot by having an AI plugged in there.
So obviously, there's a lot of talk of the digital nature of this whole piece, transformation. There's a young brand, a digitally savvy sort of encapsulation, but there is a traditional team inside. Usually in our insurance companies, there's underwriters and claims folks with long years of experience, much needed. But how do you kind of bring them together? Like, what's your personal leadership style to almost manage this? There's a bit of a tension here, right? So how do you kind of manage that tension?
And I'll just add on to that question, simply because it was Mohamed who came up with that idea. I have a young brand, but I don't have it run by typically cool young guys. I keep traditional insurance guys. So we want to hear actually what is that and all about that.
Yeah, that's so it's actually the biggest energy I have to deploy in the company is clearly to distillate this kind of new culture. So people have been used for years to do the same task the same way and so on. It's very complicated to change, I have to say. We managed to do it, but it took a lot of efforts. We had to apply as well very firm rule. Employees know they're not allowed to pronounce a few sentences, such as "we never did it," or "it was not the way we did it before," or these kind of things. It's absolutely forbidden to be pronounced at HAYAH. So I had to be firm a bit at the start, and had as well to even to move people around. Those who were like very finance based had to understand about the products and so on, because actually you realize that most of this thing comes only from a very narrow angle. People look at that department as if it was the only one functioning in the company, which is not the case. So what you need to do is to flatten much more the organization, to make sure that there is a lot of this kind of horizontal communication happening, and not the very traditional vertical going back to the head or the CEO and coming down then to the other employees and so on. So we had to provoke these kind of discussions, which are much more horizontal. People have to understand as well the strategy. I think, and I talk by experience and by feedback as well that I get from the markets. Many CEOs or many leadership teams, they know very well what they want to do in their companies, but the staff don't. And I think there's a disconnect. And the more you communicate, the more you emphasize on these big goals of the company. So becoming inclusive, becoming instantaneous, and all these kind of things. Actually, people do start to understand better what is the direction, because otherwise people have the impression they are a bit in the dark. They don't really know, so they will keep on going with their old reflexes, their old habits. The whole thing as well is to tell them what is the way forward, but don't look back. Don't look back. So look forward, don't look back. And that's for me. It was a kind of as I said, it was the biggest challenge actually I had. It was really the cultural change. It took time, but it actually happened. So these are things which are possible. I think sometimes we have the impression that we only need very insurance related profiles. Actually, taking people from other industries will give you some fresh blood and some new perspectives as well. So of course, some functions are very, very like underwriting or claims are very, I would say, traditional in terms of expertise. But when you have people from marketing, from strategy, from anything who have actually other experiences, it's actually a blessing. It's a blessing because they give you other perspectives, and they do challenge you as well on why do we do it like this in insurance? Because in another industry, in FMCG or whatever, it's not the way things are being done. And I think that it was a big learning as well to have people from other industries joining us.
Fantastic. That's great. I mean, I was just reading an interview about an insurtech, and they were asking what is the proportion of tech people in your team, or rather non-insurance people in your team and insurance people. And they said, we just need 20% insurance people. The rest are other functions. So interesting how the smaller companies, and it was very successful in insurtech somewhere. So very interesting. Excellent. I love that.
Also, I have a very different view as well on that, I would say.
Please.
Because, and I will be very provocative in saying what I said. Everybody wants to be a cool kid.
Yeah.
And the issue that you have with many of the digitalization initiatives is that most of the time you have a digital team with the head of digital and so on. So they do cool stuff. They come in jeans and sneakers in the office. They are very cool. They have a lot of ideas and so on. And you have the rest of the company which continue to function the way they used to function. These guys would try to push something, and this guy would try to resist. And it's a very natural reaction which is happening. So I don't like these kind of things, because everybody should be cool in the company. So there's not such a thing as the popular kids eating all together over lunch, and the other ones, the lame kids, being on the side. No, everybody is a cool kid. And that's something really that for me, I saw the impact. There's nobody who is the guru of digitalization or whatever internally. Nobody is. Everybody is actually at the end of the day, and everybody has to embrace it. Because if people don't, then they will automatically resist. Another thing I say a lot to my team, and that's very related to the human nature. Everybody is always complaining about processes. Try to remove a process to people who are used to do it. It's almost as if you ask them to chop off one of their arm. Really, people are fighting back so much. And try to include a new process, people actually, they will be, at the start, they will resist a little bit and then they will implement it. And it tells you a lot about the human nature. People, they like to be protected. They like to have actually processes around them because they see it as a natural protection. So that's part of the cultural transformation as well that you have to change. Failure is acceptable. Mistakes are part of the journey. But the only thing that you have to do is to learn from these mistakes and to continue forward.
Yeah, great.
Oh, awesome. I think there's a secret in there for a lot of the leaders to learn, because I think that's the piece they miss, the culture mismatch, and then things then don't progress at all. Fascinating. So on a broader note, Mohamed, in terms of the whole market outlook itself, health is a very exciting space to be in, especially in this region. So from a consumer perspective, what are the different trends that you're seeing in this space, like the emergence of wearables that's linked to the health now, and how do you think these trends will shape the way organizations like HAYAH will function? Great to know your views on that.
I like this question because you know that medical insurance is the biggest line of business in the UAE and in the GCC. But because it's compulsory in most of countries, actually, it never gave space to innovation.
Yeah.
And what happened in the last years is that you saw a commoditization of this line of business. And one of the ways to specialize this line of business or to give it a different value is typically to integrate new technologies or even new products like top-ups and so on, but also the wearable. So for me, as I see it, the wearable is not going to be an immediate revolution. I know that many people are trying to how to say, to promote it as the biggest revolution which will happen. I don't think so. I really don't think so. Why is that? It's because when you look at the value chain of insurance, you have reinsurers, you have underwriting, you have claims and so on. And at all these points in time, you'll have an issue related to this new technology. How can you do a lifestyle-based pricing when your insurers give you a very simple mortality table by age and gender?
Yeah.
You won't be able to implement it. So that's a whole value chain that you cannot, even from a pure computer or system-based information, all the projections, all the calculation, all the booking that we have is based on a natural aging of the people. When I have a policy for 20 years, I have to be able to know how much I'm going to charge next and so on. So I know the promise of wearable is that if I do good during the year, next year we'll have a discount and so on. But actually, I don't see it like this as a direct impact for the pricing of the pure insurance element. Where I would see is more a way to build a lifestyle brand. Having wearable is also the occasion for us as HAYAH to remind you about your lifestyle, about the way you sleep, where you eat. Just to give you an example as well, during Ramadan, to have some communication to you, what to eat, what to drink at night, what to avoid, what to absolutely take, and so on. So all these kind of tips and so on will help to transform the industry. Today, the industry is very transactional, meaning that as a customer, you pay a premium, and one day we will pay a claim as an insurance company. In between, nothing is happening. And this transformation for me of the wearable and the other technology will allow you to have really like a lifestyle partner with your insurance company, which is not only here to be a check payer.
Right. Like an engagement tool.
Absolutely. Exactly.
And it helps you to kind of build that sort of lifestyle ecosystem around that, and it's a great way of approaching it.
Yes, and the beauty of that is that you get to know better your customers as well.
Yeah.
And so you see, in terms of the very old way that we do the pricing, you can look back at the expense study, at the experience, at the claim history, and so on. And actually, this can allow you to understand better what is the impact of lifestyle on this kind of generation for people of this age, of this gender, and so on. And this is actually for me the most value information you can get.
Got it. Got it.
So,
And now, sort of a similar question on the life side. We know the typical issues with life. There's an acceptance issue, awareness issue, so on and so forth, and it's not mandatory. So you've talked about on your website and elsewhere, design-led approach to customer experience. So what does that mean in the context of life, and how are you sort of influencing the customer experience in the life insurance space?
Yeah, actually, you see, the challenge of life insurance is that it's not compulsory, unlike the health insurance, for instance. But there is an opportunity in every challenge, and the opportunity is that we can guide actually the customer towards their better goals. I will try to precise a little bit more what I'm saying is that you see, when you have health insurance, most of people, they will take a very basic one, basically, because this is being paid by your employer. You'll have perhaps the co-payment will be different here and there and so on. But there will always be a question of optimization for in the value chain, which is not to the benefits of the customer, and it may not be what you need, because you may be somebody who needs more optical, more dental, but less of the inpatient or these kind of things. So on life, you have totally like a blank sheet of paper in front of you, and you can design according to your plans in the future, your family. Because of course, if you have 2 kids, if you have 3 kids, if you are single and so on, it's not the same equation for you. You need to protect. Life insurance is the most compassionate thing you can buy in your life, because you don't buy it for you buy it for others. Typically, you buy it for others, and that makes the whole experience very different. And that's where actually the technology is here to support, because by supporting that, it will allow you to have very, very personalized products. Because I want to be retired when I'm 65. I want to retire in country A or B. I want to be there and so on. And according to all these factors, we can customize the right policy for you. So for me, I really see that the technology is allowing you actually to get a better view on what are your actual needs. So for the need analysis, but also in terms of purely designing the product that you want to have.
Got it.
great. I think so now when you step back from HAYAH as a brand, tell us what is the future diversification plans you have in the kitty? Are there any new lines of business that HAYAH plans to get into? Are you expanding into any other core lines of PL business?
So actually, where we want to be very active, it's 3 pillars. So medical insurance, but mostly on the individual side, because once again, the group medical is very commoditized, I would say. It's compulsory, so there is not much, innovation which can happen. It's a very capital-based line of business, so it's not our biggest appetite. But in individual medical, there is a lot of things to do. Plus, there are some trends as well on the market, such as the golden visas, the freelancers, people coming to invest in Dubai, or who want to work out of Dubai, but they have their businesses somewhere else in the world. They still need to be covered.
Yeah.
The second pillar is life insurance. So the pure protection. You want a term life, you want to cover a loan, your own credit life, you have a mortgage or whatever. So this is the second pillar in which we want to be active. We already started, and we have a very successful track record on that. And we want to grow more in this line of business, because we think the protection gap is actually huge in the UAE.
Yeah.
The third pillar is the savings. So individual and corporate, so what we call as well workplace savings, which almost does not exist in the region, and does not exist locally for sure. So this is being provided sometimes by some offshore solutions, but not locally. So we have the only workplace saving product which is approved by the Central Bank of the UAE, which allows the employees to save money toward their retirement, and also to secure the end of service benefits. So this product is called Employee Secure Saver. So the benefit clearly for the company, we can ring fence the end of service benefit parts. And for the employee, we can allow actually to have a better savings towards retirement. In terms of individual savings as well, we realize that actually there is a lot of barriers at entry for people to go and buy their own savings product and so on. Most of the time it's very lengthy, it's complicated, it's bureaucratic. You have to go through banks, you have a lot of commissions. Most of people are expats, so the very heavily commission-based kind of pattern doesn't work for them. Because in 2-3 years you may have to go to another country or to go back to your home country, and people are not eager to pay a lot of fees and charges at the very start of the policy. So same in terms of product design, we did something to make sure this is not happening, so that the costs are kept at the minimum from the start, and also that you have access to a full digital journey which is easy, accessible, that you don't have to visit us many times in the branch to fill 100 of papers and so on.
Right.
So this is the products we are looking at, and we're looking to strengthen during the year. And then it's more to have a kind of holistic view of the region, because people are mobile within the Middle East and North Africa. And plus, when you see, especially in the third pillar, which is savings, many of the expats in the UAE come from countries where the currency is definitely not as strong as the UAE dirham. And this is a reality as well for people coming from many countries, where they would prefer actually to save in the country, but sometimes they have to send back to their home country for their old days. And you realize that over time, when you look at the comparison to the US dollar, your savings has actually gone down, which is absolutely not what people are looking for, of course, when they save money. So we think that in all these kind of things, we want to make sure that people have their a kind of journey which is consistent as well, and not only from a UAE standpoint, but also when they go back to their home country, or when they move locally as expats from UAE to Saudi Arabia, to Oman, to Bahrain, and so on.
Perfect. No, that's very good. And coming to sort of the tail end of the podcast, and this is a question that we kind of let the interviewee guest dream a little bit. So if you kind of get to a billboard on Sheikh Zayed, I know it costs a lot of money, but to put an inspirational or motivational message, what kind of message would you put on that billboard? It could be a personal one or a business one.
Life is beautiful.
Love it. Isn't that a movie as well?
It's beautiful.
It is. And HAYAH is life. So we could say HAYAH is life and life is beautiful.
Love it.
Wonderful.
I like that. That is short and sweet.
Yes, absolutely.
Exactly.
So, we are on to a very exciting segment called the rapid fire segment. And this is a segment, recently introduced by Brew. We want to understand or know the person behind the leader, and get to know them a little better by asking few questions. It's short and sweet. It's rapid, and today we get to interview Mohamed Seghir. So, are you ready, Mohamed?
I am.
Okay, awesome. Tell us, what are your few favorite books that changed your life?
I like Stephen King a lot, so I would say definitely one of Stephen King books. I'm a big fan as well of Yasmina Khadra, if you know. He's a Nigerian author, and Camus. So from Camus, I would say L'étranger, The Stranger, I guess in English.
Okay.
Of course, I read most of my books in French, so I would say this one. And from Yasmina Khadra, I would say, which one do I prefer? Ce que le jour doit à la nuit. So what day owes to the night.
Right. We need to get the spellings in order, and maybe we can ask and check with you a little later at some point. Yes. Tell us your favorite hobby.
So actually, I like to travel. I absolutely love to travel. I love to travel to many different countries. mostly to cities. Actually, I love cities. So I'm somebody who prefers to live more on the countryside or more in a relaxed thing, but I like to visit cities, big cities, and so on. So it's definitely one of my hobby. I have a big hobby around comic books, American comic books and Japanese mangas. I'm a big fan myself of Batman,
Wow.
and everybody, everybody around me knows about that. So even the HAYAH office is named around the Batman universe. So we have Gotham City, Batcave, and so on for the meeting rooms.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so that's clearly my second hobby. And I would say third hobby really can sound very down to earth, but just spending time with family. Really spending time with family, just quiet time with the family. That's what I like.
Lovely. What's your favorite band?
Music. So as a band, not
Yes.
really. As a singer, I'm a big fan of Eminem.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Eminem, and I would say it's almost the only music I would listen to. I'm not like a big fan of music, but Eminem and all the US hip hop, like from the 90s or early 2000, yeah, that's the one I definitely listen to.
Okay.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Take it away, Renjit.
Yeah. So the next question is, what is your first job?
Not surprising, actuary.
Okay, so you were an actuary. Right.
Yes, I was an actuary. So I had some student jobs, of course, but
Yeah.
the first real job was actuary.
Got it. Got it. And what would be a sort of alternative career if you're not in this line?
That would be something around what I would call not the gig economy, but the geek economy. So anything around the comic books, around the movies, these kind of things, I would absolutely love it.
Right. I have to get you some DC comics from my collection. All right. And little controversial, but we can keep it open as well. Favorite city in the Middle East / world?
Dubai.
Okay. Safe answer.
Good.
Yeah. But worldwide, I would say between New York and Lyon. So Lyon is a city in France. I'm from there, so I always enjoy going back there. So it's a bit for me. It's a kind of reference city for me. So I would say between New York and Lyon, it's not the same size. It's not the same vibe between the two cities, definitely. But I would say between one of these cities, yeah.
Perfect. That's great. And so that kind of brings us to the end of this recording. It was a pleasure to have you with us, Mohamed. Thank you very much for being here at FS Brew. We really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you. It was very good as well. I think I like the flow of the discussion. Thank you for your work, and I really hope the whole team of FS Brew to continue like this. It's a success. I like it.
Thank you very much.
So much. Thank you.
Thank you.